Hello, hello. And here you are again with your boy, Toasty. Mortal Kombat Annihilation fans have something to be excited about today. We've had Brian Thompson, Larry Kasanoff, Margene Holden, and Keith Cook on the show who are all involved with that cult classic film. However, today, Kamidogo has the opportunity to interview Deron McBee. Deron portrayed the horrifying centaur, Motaro. One of Emperor Shao Kahn's most loyal and skilled warriors, he is not someone to be trifled with. Deron has proven to be successful in the movie industry. You have more than likely seen him in a number of action films within the 90s and early 2000s. He continues to keep busy to this day in a number of projects in his life, and we can't wait to talk about some of the things he has to offer. Kamidogo is always working hard to keep delivering great content. However, sometimes there can be scheduling issues, and so this is why Chris could not attend today. Chris does a lovely job with things on his side, and we continue to work closely on each and every episode that's filmed conclusively. Everyone who's listening right now, we appreciate you greatly. If you happen to be new by chance, please do us a big favor and click follow or subscribe wherever you watch or listen to the podcast. It really helps us out tons, and if you could continue spreading the word to your friends, we would be grateful. With that said and out of the way, let's get this episode in motion and start talking with Deron. Alright everyone, and here we are, joined with Deron McBee. Motaro has always been a standout character in the franchise. Not only does he stand on all fours, but he's very well known to be one of the most feared combatants. In Mortal Kombat 3, he is often proclaimed as one of the biggest challenges of the entire franchise. To see him on screen was something very special to the fans. Deron, you did a fantastic job, and it's nothing short of a pleasure to have you here today. Thanks for joining.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I'm honored, man. I mean, to be on your show with that wickedly cool shirt you're wearing, man. It's great to be here, man. So thank you so much for having me aboard.
Absolutely, my friend. So as per usual, Deron, we like to start off talking about the auditioning process for MK Annihilation. Was this a more difficult ordeal for you, as we've commonly heard about multiple callbacks?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm sure what the others told you is true. For me, it took 5 callbacks for me to get the job. 2 acting callbacks, then 2 martial arts physicality type callbacks, and then 1 just overall, just see what the character looks like, show us something nobody else has done kind of deal. And so it was 5 in all. And when I got the job, man, I was cutting cartwheels. I was at my dad's house in San Diego, man. It was awesome when I heard the good news. Really cool.
Oh, man. Guaranteed. Did you have any martial arts experience at the time? I think you maybe trained with Billy Blanks, is that correct?
Yeah, I actually worked with Billy for a couple of years at his gym, but I was actually a weight trainer over there. Watched him do that spectacular Taibo stuff. He's an amazing guy. What a gentleman. Just the sweetest guy in the world. Great family guy. Just a really neat guy all the way around. But my background is kind of varied. I dabbled in boxing and the typical little Thai boxing kind of stuff, and Kung Fu, Wushu Kung Fu. But mostly it was just all for camera stuff. It was just all to look good on camera, to be flashy. But in real life, man, I couldn't fight my way out of a wet paper bag. So one of those things.
Oh, I love the honesty, Deron. Gotta respect that.
Yeah.
Now, is it true that you originally auditioned for the role of Shao Kahn before Brian ended up doing it?
Interesting. They actually had me to come on for Motaro, and I guess they liked what I did so much that they asked me to do Shao Kahn, but they didn't give me really any time to work with the characters. So, I crashed and burned really bad. But, when I saw Brian step in, who's a friend of mine from Conan, I go, wow, much, much, much better choice, man. He just totally killed it, and amazing guy. So I was actually honored and flattered that they even asked me to audition. You know what I mean? So it as far as the Shao Kahn part. But yeah, it was amazing, man, working with Brian, and just, again, getting the part was a dream come true, man.
Yeah. Did you do any research for Motaro in any capacity? What do you remember doing in order to get a better understanding of the character in the MK universe?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. First of all, I did some talking to people that were avid Mortal Kombat fans, and I kept getting back from them. Like, this guy is a total bad to the bone character. He's super tough to beat. So I watched him play a couple times and got, oh, this guy's pretty cool, got some good moves. And I just thought to myself, if he's a half man and half beast, I want to be, I kind of portrayed myself like a lion in a cage, where I felt all pent up, there's pent up rage. And if you notice in the movie, I'm kind of stalking back and forth a little bit. So I kind of threw that into my mentality, and that's how I created the character.
Oh, most interesting. I'm going to assume you watched the first movie before filming began?
Oh, yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I was a huge fan. I mean, to me, to book a job in a movie that I was a huge fan of, like I said, it just blew me away. It was so cool. So it was great to work with some of the original cast, too. Just super people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any memories with like Rob and Shu?
You know, I didn't really work with Robin other than the times I watched him. He's a consummate professional. I mean, the guy is super focused, and he loves what he does, and he's obviously a brilliant martial artist. So to watch him was inspiring for me, what little time I did get to see with him. But I had the most fun with Jax, who is, of course, Red Williams. And I don't know if you guys talked to him or not, but Red is also one of the American Gladiators. So he was alumni of mine on the American Gladiators. So we had a blast together.
I understand you were in London, England for a long time getting the body cast and such. What was your overall experience like here? Can you remember the total duration and the set of things you had to go through in order to perfect the final prosthetics and so forth?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. It was interesting. The process just really didn't take much more than 5 or 6 hours, but it's a strange thing when you're laying back and they're encasing you in plaster of Paris from the neck down. You can't go anywhere, you can't move. And I've done head prosthetics before several times, but this was an experience for me. You know, they get you pretty much almost butt naked in there, and then they just, like I said, stay there for about an hour and a half till it all sets. And then they let you go. But, you know, it's amazing. If you guys have pictures of my character, which was my stand-in, it was all plaster of Paris that they painted up. It looked really cool. Really cool.
Wow. Yeah, so as you've said, you really wanted sort of these animalistic motivations and movements for the character, which is completely logical. Right. So could you tell us a bit more about that, and if there was anything you suggested to the filmmakers to bring forth to his character?
You know, the first thing I said, and my hair was, was super long at the time. And I really wanted this character to be long hair because I thought it'd be really wicked looking if I was fighting, my hair's flying around, make him look more like an animal, like a lion. Unfortunately, at that time with CGI, they hadn't got to the place where they could computerize hair yet. So that's why I kept it back in a plait. So that was about the only thing that I did. I mean, they were so happy with what I brought to the table. They've seen hundreds of guys. I mean, huge guys, a lot of bodybuilders, but somehow or other, I encapsulated just what they were looking for. So super, super cool. And the experience in London just was amazing. Just seeing the set in London blew my mind. I saw the ice bridge set and all that there was just, man, it's incredible.
Yeah, it really looked amazing.
And then I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you guys talk about what it's like to get a head cast, but I've done that probably 6 times in my career, and every single time it feels like you're being smothered. And even though you're not, the instinct that we have when our face is totally covered, our eyes are covered, our nose have like 2 little straw holes coming out, is to rip that thing off because it tightens and gels to your face, and all of a sudden you feel like I'm gonna die here right now. I can't breathe. But it every time, it never gets easier for some reason. But still, it was a great process for me.
Very good. We've also heard that there was an interesting camaraderie between people on this project. It often seemed the villain actors were hanging out together, and the actors portraying the forces of light were always hanging out together. Did you become close with any of the actors on this project during shooting, and do you keep in touch with any of them to this day?
Oh, yeah. Red and I still stay, reasonably close. Super guy. Love him dearly. He played Jax, as you know. And Margine and I are dear friends. I mean, I love her from my soul, man. She's like the sweetest gal, and she's an intense worker. She's brilliant and an amazing athlete. I mean, I really, really look up to Margine, and she's literally a role model for me as a person. So I love her dearly. Great gal.
Yeah, she's fantastic, man. Yeah, very, very sweet. We had her on the show, and yeah, she was a legendary person, man. I'll never forget that,
Yes. Yeah, that's a good word for her, describing her. Yeah, legendary. Jax and I, Jax and I, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, Jax and I had a lot of fun together because he and I had a slightly different view on our faith. I have a Christian faith, and he had a little bit of different faith where, he believed kind of what he believed. So we had so much fun sparring back and forth, about what we thought. But your argument was always in love, and it was always fun. And so they never went into a bad direction. And he and I just got closer from it, just brought us closer. Wow. So he's a neat guy, and I really love Red. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but we just finished an ESPN documentary together about the American Gladiators. So that's coming out in the next month or so, which is really exciting.
Oh man, yeah, I can't wait to see that. That's going to be something special.
Yeah, going to be fun. Yes, yes. I think it will.
So ultimately, in order to do a lot of the movement for Motaro, I believe you needed an additional person from the crew to walk in unison with you to represent the rear portion of the character.
Yeah.
Did this prove to be a big challenge amongst filming?
Yeah, what was funny about it is they hired this martial arts, I think he was a capoeira guy, which is a different style of martial arts where they like spin and jump almost kind of like monkeys in a weird way, but it's a beautiful, beautiful art. I don't know if I said it correctly. I think it's called capoeira or something like that. But anyways, Kimball got behind me, and he just did not like being in there, which who can blame him? His head is tucked under my butt cheeks the whole time, and we got the suit covering him, so he was hot, and he was dealing with protein farts the whole time. So what can I say? So, it's just one of those things when you're an athlete and you eat a lot of protein. I'm going, Kimball, buddy, I'm sorry. So finally, after about 3 weeks, Kimball's going, I've had enough. I'm done. So he checked out and left, which I don't blame him. And they hired this kid, if he's Indonesian or what, but his name was Hollywood of all things. It was hilarious. And so Hollywood just came in, and he was a champion. He was just the neatest kid. He was happy every day. He was thankful to have a job, and just was brilliant. And he put up with all my shenanigans. So it was interesting. It was really interesting.
Yeah. How long did it take for you and Red to film that end fight scene altogether?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm guessing, but I think it took us a couple of nights, just because we needed to coordinate it, and then they needed to shoot it, light it, and then shoot the different sequences. They shoot a master the whole thing. So. And then different pieces of when we were on top of the Buddhist temple, which is really cool. And so I think all in all, it took about 3 or 4 nights to finish that whole thing.
Wow. Can you tell me a little more about
this? So I'll tell you a story. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I tell you a quick story about that? So we're filming, and as soon as the lights come on, bats came pouring out of the top of this thing. And what happened was, the lights hit, and then there's all these moths that are attracted to the lights, and these bats are just picking them off in midair. Well, one of the first assistant directors was walking up to the top, and a moth got stuck inside of his ear, and he freaked out so bad, he had a panic attack. We had to get him to the hospital. He had to literally go in there and surgically pull that thing out because it just burned inside, and it was a freaky experience, man. I mean, he's fine, but I mean, just imagine what that feels like. And so bats are flying all over the place, things get stuck in your ear, you're disoriented, and it was just craziness. So things like that you're on a film set, you never imagine can happen, but they do,
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little more about the deleted scene of Motaro's extended fight with Jax?
Yeah, you know what? That kind of bummed me out. I think, from what I understand, the reason is it just they ran out of money to do it, because my character, Motaro, if I'm not mistaken, was close to about $1 million a minute that I was on screen for all they had to do for the computer stuff and up there paying for all that. So it cost them a lot of money. And the sad thing was that fight was supposed to be twice as long. It was like, a Godzilla versus King Kong kind of fight, right? And I was supposed to knock down these big colonnades with my tail and go after them. And man, I was so excited because this thing was going to be a wicked cool fight. And they cut it down to literally about half of what it was supposed to be. So that was the only part that kind of bummed me out, because I felt sorry for the fans more than anything else. You know what I mean? I felt like they deserved to see that epic crescendo to the movie of those two guys going at it.
Yes, that would have been very memorable. Wow. Because that was cut, and when we had Margine, she told us that Shiva was supposed to have a massive fight scene. So it's really, really too bad.
Yes.
So you said there was like exploding pillars that was supposed to be in that fight. Do you remember anything else by chance, or?
No, honestly, that was the thing that stuck in my mind the most. It was, and the duration of it. I mean, we just had some really cool stuff that we were going to do, the kicks and what Motaro could do. And and Jax and Red and I talked about it a lot. So, I was telling him the things I can do physically, and he was talking about what he could do. I said, let's just work it in, let's use your strengths and use my strengths and work it into this really cool fight. So we had it all mapped out and all set. And so, like I said, it would have shown his talents and mine at the same time, but unfortunately they hacked it out, which I think hurt the movie. I really do, unfortunately.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. Was there any additional character development for Motaro? Any other additional scenes that could have explored him a bit more with dialogue? Do you know?
Yeah, well, the voice, I kind of try to magnify my voice as much as I could and move around. Of course, they synthesized my voice. We went to Canada and they had me read all my lines again, and they synthesized it electronically to make it sound like it did. But, I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I mean, it was some of the finest work I've done. I thank the Lord for that. I thank God for that. But there was never one time they cut me and said, Deron, try it this way, or Deron, do it this way. It was like, whatever I was doing, they were totally digging it. So we just stayed up. We just stayed with it. So just one of those things, man. Like I said, it just was a moment that I really caught the vision that the director and producers had of that character.
Wow. Fantastic. Do you, by chance, have a favorite line from the movie? And if you still have the Motaro spirit in you, now I know it's not going to be synthesized here or anything, but kind of in that voice that you sort of were going for, can you say your favorite quote?
Let's see. Your hallowed position atop the worm pile appears to be most tenuous. Now your failure will be my victory.
Oh, beautiful, Darren. Beautiful. Gotta get a kick out of it, man.
I gotta tell you a story about that too. Can I tell you a story about that too, really quick?
Please,
so right after I said
do.
that line in the movie, she supposedly slapped me across the face. Right? I mean, that's a scene where she slapped me supposedly. And when my daughters were watching this on the movie, my little one was about 3 years old, and she was freaking out. But Daddy, she slapped you. Why did she slap you? Did that hurt, Daddy? I go, honey, we're just pretending. It's like. She just missed Daddy by, like a foot. And so every time someone come over that's seen the movie, she goes, she really didn't hit Daddy. She just missed him by a foot. So it was really sweet. It was really, really sweet.
Oh, that is. I also hear you, Lynn, and Brian for sure, maybe even Margine, were all pretty competitive at the bowling alley. So tell us, who was the grand champion in the end? Who was the grand champion?
I've got to be... okay, so I got to bust myself in this. I didn't show up for a very good reason, okay? I was, at the time... Yeah, I never went to this this thing. I heard it was epic, okay? But the reason why I didn't, it was I was crazy in love with a girl back in the United States. So I was spending every second I had on the phone to her, spending thousands of dollars trying to court this girl who lived in LA and I'm in Thailand. So that's why I missed the whole bowling extravaganza.
No way.
Yeah.
I'd also like to ask, how was it working with director John Leonetti and producer Larry Kasanoff?
Yeah, I remember John really, really well. Larry seemed like he was kind of quiet. I didn't talk to him too much. But John was a totally laid back, super cool guy. I guess he was a director of photography before he was doing this, and his brother was working with him as DP, right? If I'm not mistaken. But really nice guy, really laid back, a gentleman, and just a cool dude, man. I really liked him.
That's good. There's one scene in the movie at the round table where Motaro gets quite physical with Shiva and literally lifts her up in the air. Could you tell us more specifically how that was shot and if it was a tough thing to nail down or not? Did Margene's pair of prop arms ever get in the way during some takes, you know?
Right. It's a good question. When we were filming that scene where I picked her up, all we made sure is I didn't touch her prosthetic arms. I grabbed her under her real armpits. But we had this little step stool, and she's such a professional. She's a consummate professional. So I said, when I grab you, just put your back foot on that step, and I'm going to start lifting you. Just push yourself up. So it was like seamless. I grabbed her, and she went straight up in the air. They loved it, and we shot it from different angles, and it was done. But, it was a piece of cake with her because she's so great to work with.
Good. Do you have any funny stories while filming the movie? Any good bloopers you can remember, or maybe some fun pranks? I doubt that, but you never know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm a bit of a prankster. I'm going to embarrass the heck out of myself with this, okay? So that's okay. I can laugh at myself. So the girl that I was in love with sent me a care package to Thailand. Okay, so you can imagine how much that cost. So in that package was, oatmeal, a coffee pot, and a pair of her panties that she sent back. These really green, lacy panties that she sent back. So I thought it'd be funny when we were filming at the Buddhist temple, where it's sacred. You don't desecrate that temple or anything. That I snuck out from the makeup tent one night wearing those green panties. I got a picture with my arm around one of the security guards, and he's sitting there like a deer in the headlights. It's like, before he knew it hit him, I was out of there.
And the best part, man, you got the image.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm lucky I didn't get shot or thrown in jail for that.
Was there anybody you worked with that you found just continuously funny on the crew or cast?
I think for the most part, everybody was just working hard together. Remember any particular times that, anything besides Jax and I were laughing all the time together. But no, I didn't really recognize anybody because everybody seemed like they're really passionate about what they were doing and really enjoying themselves. Although I know a couple of stunt guys from LA, and I know they were cutting up and pranking each other and doing all that stuff, but I didn't get a chance to work with those guys because I would fit right in with all those pranksters and stuff like that. So most of it to me was pretty serious acting business.
Now, when it comes to Motaro's tail, a lot of the scenes, you can tell it was CGI, but I am pretty sure that, of course, there was also like a fake tail made. Do you remember filming any particular scenes with that? And did you have any mishaps or any mistakes with that?
Yeah, that practical tail that they made for my character was amazing. And it was actually made to, absolutely perfect stats. I mean, the thing was like 15 feet long, had a wicked tail on it. It was all animatronic, where a guy was pulling levers and pushing buttons and that thing would move. And the one time they used it was actually inside that round room when I picked up Shiva. and I was talking, you'd see the tail whipping back and forth. That was the animatronic tail they were using, and then they just sped it up a little bit. But it was amazing. I mean, it really, really was amazing, and looked pretty doggone great. I mean, just like you could look at it and think that was a real deal right there. So very cool.
Man, that sounds like a piece of art for sure. Like that's something really special.
Yeah.
Did you keep anything from set?
Just my wife's panties. No,
good answer. Good answer.
I actually brought the teeth back. They made these really, really wicked cool prosthetic teeth. And I used to run around and chase my daughters around the house with them. And finally, my youngest thought she didn't think it was funny anymore, they disappeared. And I said, honey, what happened to my teeth? Daddy, you went down a toilet by accident. She goes, oh, by accident you flushed them down the toilet. It was like
by
a
accident.
$3,000 set of fake teeth.
Oh man.
So it served me right for terrorizing my little 3-year-old daughter. So I deserved it. So.
When Margie was on, she said she went on multiple adventures in Thailand whenever she wasn't required to film. Do you have any great recollections of your time in Thailand particularly? Did you go on any adventures on your spare time there? Tell us about that and some of the great memories.
Yeah, Brian and I took a train into Pat Pong, which is in Bangkok, and it's just like this open-air market kind of thing where you can buy Rolex watches for $15, that kind of place. It's like, you get all these fake things, designer purses that would be $5,000 in America, and it's $25 there, So a bunch of knockoff stuff. But it was interesting. I bought some really cool rings, one that I still have with me, and I actually wore that ring on the set. Brian bought one too, and I believe he wore it in the movie, but I'm almost positive he wore it in the movie. So anyway.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
I remember he and I going shopping. With that? Yeah. I got a ring just like that. Yeah. Very cool. All I can remember is when we were going into the bars. I'm not a beer drinker per se, but I went into bars with the guys, and I got like literally swarmed by all these girls that were like jumping on my back like little spider monkeys, going, want a drink, want a date, want a drink, and it was 5 or 6 girls hopping on my back, pulling on me, and I was like, oh, I'm fine. So. Anyways, we booked out of there after that, and then a couple of the guys went, and they went. I guess there was a downstairs place where they had some interesting shows where girls did interesting things with interesting body parts that I don't want to talk about. All I know is someone said someone was shooting ping pong balls out from an orifice that I don't want to discuss, and I'm like, wow, that's a challenge. So.
Oh, you're killing me, Darren. You're killing me.
You asked for an interesting story. So
hey, I got it.
Right?
Yo.
There you go.
Oh, so good. So when the final product was released, and assuming you watched it during the premiere, were you personally satisfied with the special effects and how your character turned out on screen ultimately?
Loved my character on screen. Yes, I love my character on screen. I thought they did a great job of it with the voice. Like I told you a little bit earlier, I just felt kind of bad that there wasn't enough of that last fight in there, because it really would have made that, movie ending like perfect, But other than that, I thought the special effects were on point. I didn't really care, and I don't know why they did it, but they did that last animation where the dragon fought that 3-headed thing. I don't know where they did their animality.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty hokey, to be honest with you. And I thought, for a $70-something million movie, why? Why go there with that? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessary. And I think the movie would have been better without that whole scene. Personally.
You know what? It's so funny you say that, Darren, because I am in complete alignment with you. Honestly, I couldn't agree more. I personally think Annihilation is a fun movie to watch. It's just that's the only scene where I just majorly cringe. Like it really looks bad. Yeah. And Larry Kasanoff himself said his biggest regret actually was not going through another sort of layer of special effects. He wanted to initially, but the studio said, no. Test audiences are already good. Just release this thing. So, that's really unfortunate.
Right.
Dope.
Yeah. I think I definitely, we all know it hurt the movie, but it's just one of those things that was pretty much out of everybody's hands. So we just do what we got to do.
That's right, brother. Deron, I have so much respect for you, man. You are an incredibly strong person, and you have so much faith in God. You went through a lot of trauma in your life and took a few years off from the movie industry. In the end, you really rose up and learned a lot of things. Is this something you'd care to expand on with audiences today?
Thank you. You're absolutely right about that. And, I think adversity can do one of two things to people. It can either make you stronger and go forward, or it can just tear you apart to where you go crawl in a shell and never come out of it. And I've seen people do both. And I will tell you personally, it was my faith in Jesus Christ that got me through, my faith in God that got me through some of the tough times. For instance, this gal I was telling you about that I was courting, that I fell in love with and I'd married, who I had that beautiful daughter with, who flushed my teeth down the toilet. She passed away about 7 years after we were married, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
She had a blood clot that got caught in her lung, and she had a heart attack. She's 35 years old, man. So that was a big blow. And about 4 years later, I went to visit my mom, and she just retired from the movie business. She was a hairdresser, just the sweetest lady, like an angel. I mean, a true angel. And I opened the door into her house because she wasn't answering her phone, and there she was on the floor. She died from a heart attack. So I found my mom on the floor, and I'll tell you, man, that's a gut check right there, man. When you walk in a place like that and you see what you see, and the atmosphere changes and everything smells different. So that was a tough part, but I know for me, as a faith in God, as a Christian, and she was a Christian, I know where she's at now. I know that she's in heaven, and I know I'll see her again, but you love those dear people in your life. I mean, she was just amazing. So I miss her every day. I still dream about her and my wife. But to answer your question, at that point, the reason why I took time off is all of a sudden I became Mr. Mom. I had a wife supporting me, and I could go out and do my movies. I could do my ministry stuff. But all of a sudden, here I am with a 1.5-year-old girl and a 5-year-old daughter, both two daughters. And then all of a sudden, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to let a nanny raise these girls? Or am I going to throttle back and forget being a big shot actor and be a father?
Right.
And so I decided I was going to be a father. And it taught financially, it hit hard, okay? Because we went through some tough financial times, brother, I'll be honest with you. But, every single way God seemed to supply. And I am so thankful that I did the hard work and been a dad to these girls, because they have grown up to be amazing young women today. So it was worth all the sacrifice in every single way. And I think, again, through that, it gives me great compassion for other people that are going through hardships and going through suffering. So I can, come alongside a lot of people, because I have a counseling service now. I do life coaching, and I talk to so many people, whether they be drug addicts or suicidal or, bulimics or anything. So people, this world, we know how crazy this world is. So, for sure. I'm just out there to help people and be a servant to God. That's basically what I'm doing now, and I'm very fulfilled with that.
Respect, man. Respect. Wow, that's really something special.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, man. So what are your daughters doing nowadays? Let's hear.
So my oldest literally just had a baby last week. So I'm a granddaddy of a granddaughter named Paige, who's adorable. It's just totally cute. And my youngest daughter she just got married 3 years ago, and she's going through school, the final process to be it's a nurse, but it's also an exercise physiology type nurse. So it's the highest credential you can get. And she's just delightful. She's the sweetest girl, and her husband's a great guy. So like I said, I'm thankful I put in the good work. My daughters are wonderful.
Could you tell us a little about your background in law enforcement, and why you had decided in the end to step down from that line of work.
Sure. Yeah, so I actually joined the sheriff's department kind of on a whim. I always thought cops were really cool, and I've always been the kind of person that's altruistic. I want to help people and such. And so I had this kind of naive view that when I became a cop, I was going to help the world kind of thing. And found out it was quite different than it was when I actually got into it. But after about just 4 years, I got in a battle with an inmate in there, and through the fight, I fell while I had him in a headlock, and I ended up herniated 6 discs in my back, and it ended up being so bad that it was one of those things where I was still going to the gym, but even to this day, I cannot sit in a chair for more than 20 minutes. My legs will go numb, or if I stand in one spot for too long, my legs will go numb and my back starts killing me. So it's weird. I can move, I can do all those things that I do, but standing or sitting is absolutely the worst thing. And I talked to several orthopedic surgeons, and they just explained to me, they said, Deron, that's completely normal for that type of injury you have. So I'm thankful that I can still be mobile and do all that stuff. But I decided at that point, I just didn't want to be a cop anymore. So I threw my badge on lieutenant's desk and said, adios.
Yeah. Damn, man, that's something. Sorry to hear about that, but nevertheless, did you have any really great experiences
with the sheriff? So I was talking about the sheriff's department. I have great respect for everybody that works at the department, but it was time for me to move on and set my sights on something that I enjoyed and that I thought I was going to stay healthy at, but I got so much injured doing stunts over the years. But it's been wonderful, and like I said, I have great respect for the department and all those men and women in law enforcement.
You had the opportunity to be in Curb Your Enthusiasm with showrunner and lead actor Larry David, who of course created the famous sitcom Seinfeld prior to that show. What was it like working with him, and could the listeners hear a little bit about that scene, as I know it's one of your personal favorites?
It is. I mean, and not only that, it was I think one of the personal favorites of all the episodes. I mean, it won some kind of award because up until I didn't know this at the time, but up until I did the episode, Larry David never broke character. No one ever made him laugh. No one ever made him break character. And when he hired me to be supposedly this big wrestler guy, and I got really mad at Larry David, who was behind me, supposedly shooting my kids, and I'm getting all flipped out, talking about mass shootings and losing my mind. And so I was supposed to get out of the car and start cussing him out. Now you, and just all these 4-letter words. Well, I'm thinking, all right, I'm a father, and I've got 3 kids in the back of my car, which I did. There were 3 young kids in there. You want to say bad words, but you sometimes supplement with something not so bad. So in other words, what I said to him one time, I said, I'm going to body slam you so hard, you're going to poop your bald pants. And he fell out just laughing, totally laughing. I mean, just stuff like that, right? And he broke character, and 3 times I got him to crack up. And finally, one of the assistant directors come over and said, Deron, what? You don't understand what you just did. I go, what? Nobody makes him laugh on set. And so I was like, everybody's like, high fire me and this and that. So I knew I had a winner, and I thought to myself, not using cuss words and going a little bit different just made the character that much more funny.
Definitely.
So it turned out to be like, I think the best piece of work I've done, if ever, I think so. Real happy with that, and they were thrilled with it too. So that turned out great.
That's amazing. Now you're attached to a film project called Instruments of Justice. Margine has even confirmed that she's been working closely with you on this title. Is there anything fans can know about this upcoming film? What we hear, it's going to be in the vein of like a classic 80s action film?
Okay, so we had a couple people help us with the writing, but the concept was I wanted kind of a Lethal Weapon type of a comedy, and The storyline is absolutely hilarious. The characters are great. It's just one of those things. It's a gem. It's a little tough to get financed only because people, they don't get that it's a genre film from the 80s kind of thing. They want everything to be like, up to date and stuff. So, but I've got some people interested, and Margene is fantastic. She's going to be director on it, which will be phenomenal because she got a brilliant mind. We cut a trailer, and currently after we're going to edit the trailer, and we're going to start shopping it hopefully in the next couple months.
Oh, man.
So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yes. I think it's safe to say we all are, man. I think that sounds wicked. I'm a huge 80s action fan, so it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, Deron, so what we're going to do now is jump to the last segment of the show called
Final Round.
So what we're going to do in this final round is ask you about 5 quick questions, and let's see what you have to say. So the first being,
okay,
what are some of your secret talents?
Secret talents? I make a mean protein shake. Mwah. I think probably one of my best talents is I'm pretty patient, and I've been a good father. I think that's a talent of mine. I think is a God-given talent. Is I'm a good father, and I think because I care about people. I also, I didn't tell you about this earlier, but I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. So I work with people that are addicts and alcoholics, which, there are a lot of hurting people out there. So I want to help as much as possible. And also, for about a 5-year period there, after I'd been injured, I actually got addicted to pain meds that were being pushed on me. And I literally tried to avoid, but I got just hopelessly addicted to these things. And by the grace of God, I've been sober for 5 years now, but I'm trying to, again, pour the energy that I have and what I've learned to help other people along the way. So, I just believe God will take things in our lives, no matter how tough they are, and turn tragedies into triumphs if you really turn to Him and ask Him. So it's been a blessing. Tough journey, but a blessing.
Wow, that's amazing. I couldn't have said it better myself, brother. Being a man of faith myself, I think that's, well said. What is your favorite place to travel?
Wow. Probably either Hawaii or Puerto Vallarta. I really enjoy that. I've been there. Puerto Vallarta 5 times, been to Hawaii 6 times. And I just enjoy both. I think Puerto Vallarta only because it's closer. But both places are, you can't beat for the ocean. You can't beat Hawaii and the different islands and stuff. So those are my 2 favorite places by far. I could go stay there any time and be really happy.
What is your favorite movie to watch?
Wow, man, there's so many. Well, I'm an action guy. I think Lethal Weapon is up there, and of course, iconic Rocky. I mean, that movie is what really inspired me when I was a very young man to start believing in myself and believe that I could overcome adversities, because I was a skinny little stick kid in high school, and I was a guy literally that got bullied in high school for being skinny. I had buck teeth and glasses and the whole thing, and I remember seeing Stallone in Rocky, and I was so inspired that's when I started hitting the speed bag and boxing and all that stuff, and turned to weight training. And so, those are definitely 2 of my favorite movies for sure.
Excellent. What was your very first job ever?
Okay, Married with Children. That's easy. I was actually, just really quickly, I was a personal trainer, been a personal trainer for a long time also, and I happened to be training, unbeknownst to me, a gal who was married to the executive producer of Married with Children, and she happened to ask me if I was ever interested in acting. I said, well, by the way, I just started. I'd like to do that. She goes, I just have this show called Married with Children that my husband is producing. I go, I love that show. So I gave her my resume, and next thing you know, I auditioned and I booked that job. And man, that's been like probably the greatest, most fun time I've ever had. They treated me really well. I was so nervous. I mean, I was like shaking in some of the scenes because I'd never been acting before, as far as And I'm dealing with these consummate professionals on both sides of me, and they were both super cool. So I had a blast.
And lastly, if you had to think about it, what is your most prized possession?
Probably my relationship with Jesus Christ. I think that my most prized possession is my faith in God. And second would be my children, with hands down. Third, it would be being in ministry where I can help people, hopefully, show them that there's a better way to live than drugs, alcohol, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Because there is. A lot of people in this world, like I do, especially entertainment industry, blitzes on the screen that if you are thin enough or you're pretty enough or you're buffed enough, or just drink this drink or you go to this party, you're going to be happy. And the reality is that when these people get to this place, they realize, well, why am I still miserable? And really, to me, the answer to that, they had a French philosopher in I think it's 1500s named Blaise Pascal. He was also a mathematician, brilliant guy. And he said there's a God-shaped void inside of every human heart that only God can fill. And people try and fill it with, like I said, whether everything but that, drugs, sex, rock and roll, relationships, now changing your gender and all these things that they're telling, I don't like who I am. And so they're looking for identity and they're looking for purpose and they're looking for a place to fit in. And the thing about walking in faith with God is that he gives you all those things. He fills that void. And, unfortunately, Christianity's got a really, really bad name, as you know. But I think it's because people don't really know who Jesus Christ really is and the love he shares and what it means to turn your life over to him. So anyways, I don't mean to be too preachy, but this is what I really believe in. This is what I live in. And I've seen so many lives change on account of that. So those are my two faves right there.
All right, man. Well, it's been such a blast having you on the show today. But before we exit, is there anything that you'd like to promote at this time, my friend?
Well, thank you very much for asking. I mentioned a little bit earlier, I was on this show, this very iconic TV show in the 90s called The American Gladiators. And ESPN called me a couple years ago and said they want to do a retrospective documentary on that show, and would I like to be in it? And I said, of course. I'd love to be in it. So they followed me around for about a year and they filmed everything they did. They filmed me in church. They filmed me at the house helping guys with addiction and talk about my story. I break down my whole story about everything I told you about my mom, my addiction, all that stuff. And it's going to be premiering actually in Canada May 2nd, and it should be premiering in Los Angeles around the end of May. So ESPN, I don't know if you guys get ESPN out there. It's a huge sports network channel. So yes, I'll make sure that I get you a copy of it and I'll send it out to you, man.
Oh, man, I would appreciate that so much. Yeah, I'm stoked. That's going to be so good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, man. And do you have any social media handles that people can add you?
Yeah, thank you. Really, if anybody's struggling with whether it's depression, suicidal thoughts, addiction, whatever, or you just need someone to talk to, man, I want to be available to anybody on Facebook. I'm wide open. I leave my phone number on there and my personal cell phone number. If you guys ever want to reach out, you ever want to talk, you ever got questions about God or the Bible, or just want to rap, contact me on Facebook. I'll friend you, and you can lock on, and we'll rap from there. You just get on my messenger, and I'll leave my phone number. It's area code 818-612-4304. That's 818-612-4304. Thanks, man. Thanks for giving me that little tag.
You bet. Okay, man. Well, this has been great. So you just have yourself an awesome day.
You too, my bro. Thank you so much.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Deron is quite the soldier and has a very strong heart. What an honor it was speaking to him. Be sure to monitor his career closely, as he's really making a difference out there. We hope all the massive Mataro fans got a kick out of this. It's been fun. Thanks for supporting. Should be interesting to see who's up next on the podcast. What an adventure it's been. To all our loyal followers, we love you. Hope you continue to do well and have a smile on your face. Life can be tricky sometimes, but don't ever forget, if you feel you're trapped in a dark hole and just can't crawl out of it, be mindful that there's always a way out. You can speak to Deron himself on the number he provided, and he will be sure to have your back. As we at Kamidogu like to say in good spirits, have fun, stay safe, and stay flawless.